Shamsad. I welcome you all to this webinar on a very important topic that we are going to discuss. We have two very eminent persons with us who will be discussing on various aspects of creativity and communication today. But before we begin the proceedings, let me request Biswasri Tanaya Priyadarshini, who is an research associate come life member of Swami Vivekananda Lok Sanshad, to sing the inaugural song.
Namaskar. Hello.
Biswasri, go ahead,
Okay,
please.
sir. Namaskar, sir. ॐ वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा गजाननं भूतगणादिसेवितं कपित्यजम्बुफलसारभक्षितम् उमासुतं शोकविनाशकारणं नमामि विघ्नेश्वरपादपङ्कजम् नमामि विघ्नेश्वरपादपङ्कजम् धन्यवाद.
Thank you. Thank you, Biswasri. Wonderful rendition. Now I request Sri Bholanath Naik, who is also a research scholar and also a life member of Swami Vivekananda Lok Sanshad, and also the treasurer, Vivekananda Yuva Sanshad, to please read out the Vivek Bani. Bholanath.
ଧନ୍ୟବାଦ ସାର୍। ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କୁ ମୋର ନମସ୍କାର ଏବଂ ଶୁଭ ସନ୍ଧ୍ୟା। ଆଜିର ବିବେକ ବାଣୀ। ଜଣେ ବ୍ୟକ୍ତି ଅନ୍ୟ ଜଣକୁ ମୂର୍ଖ ବୋଲି କହିଲା। ସେ ଏକଥା ଶୁଣି ତତ୍କ୍ଷଣାତ୍ ମୁଷ୍ଟିବଦ୍ଧ କରି ତା ନାକରେ ବିଧା ମାରିଲା। ଦେଖ ଶବ୍ଦର କି ଶକ୍ତି! ଜଣେ ସ୍ତ୍ରୀ ଦୁଃଖରେ କାନ୍ଦୁଛି। ଅନ୍ୟ ଜଣେ ସ୍ତ୍ରୀ ଆସି ତାକୁ କେତୋଟି ମିଠା କଥା କହୁଛି। ଦେଖ କାନ୍ଦୁଥିବା ସ୍ତ୍ରୀ ସଙ୍ଗେ ସଙ୍ଗେ ସଡ଼କ ହୋଇ ବସିଲା। ତାର ଦୁଃଖ ଚାଲିଗଲା। ତା ମୁହଁରେ ହସ ଫୁଟିଲା। ଉଚ୍ଚ ଦର୍ଶନ ଛଡ଼ା ସାଧାରଣ ଜୀବନରେ ମଧ୍ୟ ଶବ୍ଦର ପ୍ରବଳ ଶକ୍ତି, କିନ୍ତୁ ଏ ସମ୍ବନ୍ଧରେ ଆମେ ବିଶେଷ ଚିନ୍ତା ଓ ଅନୁସନ୍ଧାନ କରୁନାହୁଁ, ଯଦିଓ ଆମେ ଦିବାରାତ୍ରି ଏ ଶକ୍ତି ଦ୍ୱାରା କାର୍ଯ୍ୟ କରିଥାଉ। ସ୍ୱାମୀ ବିବେକାନନ୍ଦ। ଧନ୍ୟବାଦ।
Dhanyabad, Bholanath. Wonderful words, words of wisdom. So today, let me once again formally welcome all of you to this web session on creativity and communication. I can see that there are very senior people who have gathered today to listen to the discussion and the deliberations on this very important topic. The point is that every human being is a creative being. Some write, some sing, some paint, and even if one doesn't do any one of this, he or she thinks. So thinking is not possible without creativity. Only human beings are creative, animals are not creative. But the point is that all cannot express themselves creatively. This is a special skill. How do you express yourself most creatively, most effectively? What is the role of creativity in putting across your viewpoint, your opinion? Many times, especially we Odias, falter when it comes to express ourselves. Sometimes you must have seen that those who do not know many things, they just try to kind of show off their skills through very difficult jargons and all that. So the point is how best we can communicate with others. We can put across our viewpoints, our opinions, and that process of communication must be a creative one, whereby our best thoughts are submitted to the listener. So I am not an expert on this topic. Today we are very fortunate to have two very eminent persons with us. One would be chairing engineer Somnath Misraji, who was general manager of NALCO, who is also the chairman of Vichardhara Swami Vivekananda Lok Sansad, and he knows inside out of an organization how an organization functions, uh, what are the nuances of organizational functioning. He's a prolific trainer, and as I was telling you, he was an organizational expert, and he's a very well-known, prominent management consultant. So on behalf of all of you, I welcome Sri Somnath Misra to this webinar. And also the keynote speaker or the chief speaker of today's evening session is Dr. Debilal Misra, who we know very well. He needs no introduction. He's a passionate communicator. He's a prolific writer. He's an adventurist, and he's now, as you all know, that he's now working as assistant professor of mass communications in Ravenshaw University. He's a great communicologist. I got to know this term today evening from Debilal that there is a term called communicologist. So a very creative thinker, a creative person, a great communication expert or communicologist. He's just like my younger brother, but we always feel proud of Debilal's achievement. So I have the honor of introducing him today. So with these words, I also introduce Debilal to this webinar. Now we shall start our proceedings because we are very keen on maintaining the time schedule. So now I would request our president, engineer Somnath Mishra, to give his address. Then we'll go for the resource person. Engineer Mishra.
Thank you, Abhinandanji. Good evening to all. I will not take much time because we all are eagerly waiting for another Mr.'s talk. The subject matter itself is highly exciting. In fact, I had a talk with Dr. Chayakanta Sarangi sir, who is most probably still in Bangalore, but from there itself, he said he is highly interested to attend today's program. So like him, so many other members of ours are very much interested. Now it's my privilege to say a few words about today's speaker, that is Dr. Debilal Misra, who is already a very known figure. As Abhinandanji has already said, I will not repeat all those things, but still just very briefly, I will say a few words about him. Dr. Misra is an assistant professor, Department of JMC, Ravenshaw University, Cuttack. He has developed some new theories in the field of communication theory and social psychology. Some of his theories have been introduced into the syllabi of various institutions. He is very much active as a communicologist, working on several psychological aspects of human communication. He works on areas like personality, vibrational communication, and communication behavior. He is a popular motivational speaker, poet, writer, columnist, playwright, creative director, TV panelist, presenter, and behavior consultant. Dr. Misra is a member of various research and academic institutions. He is a leading academic contributor on various national and international platforms. It is highly gratifying to note that A story on him and his works was done by NTD, a New York-based global media house, in the year 2018. So now we are eagerly waiting for Dr. Mishra to start his session. With this, I end here. Now I request once again Dr. Devilal Mishra to present his deliberation, please. Dr. Mishra.
Good evening to everyone. Hope I am audible. Hope I am audible to everyone.
Yes,
Am I
audible.
audible?
Audible. You are audible.
So my sincere regards to the president of this web session, Engineer Somnath sir, and my revered colleague from Revensa, an arts literature and social thinker, Dr. Netaji Abhinandanji, for his good gesture and words. So without taking much of your time, I again express my gratitude for having me as a resource person this evening on a topic that is very close to my heart, and my mind both. When we discuss about communication, it is always a fascinating experience. Communication is as natural as life to me. It is very natural. All of us have been communicating even before our birth. There are so many researches, so many studies on human communication that affirm these findings. That communication is very natural, and it is in the very nature of all life. That is to say, all life communicates. All life communicates through various languages, through various gestures, reactions, and the like. And without communication, existence is impossible. That is why it is often said that communication is a means of survival. If we can't communicate, we can't survive. There is a universal law of communication that states that all life communicates in its quest for survival. For example, when a child cries, there is communication. It communicates that it is either hungry or suffering. Even when a leaf from a tree gets dehydrated, it also communicates. It communicates that it is thirsty, it needs water. Similarly, every action, every change that we see around us has a unique communication significance. So that's why it is often said that everything living communicates in its quest for survival. And without communication, survival is not possible. Without communication, existence is not possible. There is a great theorist in the field of communication psychology. His name is Paul Watzlawick. And he has a very interesting theorem. He says that you cannot not communicate. That means you cannot live without communicating. Every moment you need to communicate, consciously or unconsciously. You need to communicate if you are going to survive. No communication means no life, no survival, no sustenance, no existence. So now you understand that every behavior is a kind of communication. And because behavior doesn't have a counterpart, so it is not possible not to communicate. So this is the significance of communication, the scope of communication. So why, since we all know communication, we have been communicating for quite some time, then why we need to learn communication? why we need to know communication from different approaches, from different perspectives. See, as we discussed, communication is there since the beginning of life on earth. But much later in the human knowledge history that it began to be studied as a process. Whatever we find around us, all the social intercourse, communication is at the heart of all social intercourse. Yes, when we go on to define communication, we find it at the heart of all social intercourse. Whatever is going on around us, we can find that somewhere it is connected to communication, to different contexts of communication, different manners of communication, different forms of communication, different parameters of communication, different needs for communication. So, in order to understand communication, first we need to know its basic outline in our everyday life, basic presence in our everyday life. So since today's session is basically based on communication and creativity, we will discuss communication from various dimensions. So first we must try to know communication. Then we will go on to other things, other aspects. So as we just discussed that communication, everyone can define communication in their own ways because we are communicators, we are born communicators. And we communicate through various manners, various gestures, various forms. So our definitions may be different. Etymologically, communication comes from a Latin word communicare, meaning to share. So the primary process and the function of communication is based on the process of sharing. It can be sharing of anything. It can be sharing of ideas, information, emotions, sentiments, or other human dimensions. So primarily it refers to a process of sharing. But when we talk about effective communication, what is effective communication? Every communication has a certain goal. And when your communication achieves your goal, then only it becomes meaningful. So when we communicate in various contexts. We communicate to various receivers, various people, in various contexts, having various perceptions. So when we discuss about the types of communication, communication is of various types, depending on the various contexts. For an example, if we consider content as a parameter, communication can be of two types. It can be verbal, it can be non-verbal. It can involve words, language, or it can involve postures, gestures, expressions, as we are doing every day while communicating. If we discuss communication from the perspective of audience, it can be of many types. For an example, it can be intrapersonal communication, communication occurring within ourselves, or talking to ourselves, communicating to ourselves. On different occasions, we have experienced this. It can be interpersonal communication inside an organization, in a family, in a neighborhood, when we talk to more people face to face. That is interpersonal communication. There also can be group communication. For an example, this webinar, when a speaker or resource person is communicating to a group, or in a group discussion when one group is communicating to another group, that is group communication. There also can be mass communication, when you use technology to communicate to the masses. Because mass communication always uses mass media. Mass communication is not possible without mass media. And that involves media channels as old as the book and as new as the internet. And the message is communicated or disseminated to a diverse audience. So this is mass communication. And there also can be extrapersonal communication or transpersonal communication, sometimes communication between two different beings of various characteristics. For example, if you have a pet at home, you communicate to your pet, that is extrapersonal communication. Or for example, when we communicate in other contexts, more than a human being, it is transpersonal or extrapersonal communication. So this is also communication from a different perspective, from the perspective of the audience. And if you want to understand communication from the perspective of a medium, it can be of various types, starting with organic, because historically messages were transmitted face to face. There was no technology. The development of the human mind was limited. So there are various challenges and barriers too in the process of communication. So we are using only our bodily organs, physical organs, by making gestures, postures, using sound, our sight, vision, we are communicating. And the scope was obviously limited. And again, we experienced new developments. The human mind became more creative, and they are set in the creative era of communication. We learn to use external elements for the sake of communication. For example, we learn the use of water for the sake of communication. We learn the use of fire for the sake of communication. We learn the use of sound for the sake of communication, smoke for the sake of communication. Even we trained creatures, animals for the sake of communication. So that is a creative phase of communication. Then we enter into another phase, that is technological era. You may call it technology. And this started significantly after the invention of the printing press in Germany in the 15th century, Johannes Gutenberg. So after technology came to the forefront, the entire course of communication was revolutionized. And you see, we are still in that era. But we have again advanced into another era, another finer era, that is intellectuology. That is the latest advance of the human intellect and technology. There is a reciprocal relationship between intellect and technology. Intellect affecting technology and technology affecting human intellect. So we are now in this era of intellectuology, where we have developed relationship with our gadgets, with our communication technology, and the devices, communication devices have become indispensable parts of our lives. So this is an era of intellectuology that we live. We can find the technological flexibility of intellect and the intellectual flexibility of technology affecting all in their own rights. So there is again, if you want to understand communication from the perspective of manner, communication can be of various types. It can be personal, emotional. For example, the way we communicate to our parents, to our siblings, or to our family members is entirely different from our communication in our offices, organizations we work, or in other social spheres. So every context, communication has a proper context, a specific context, every communication. So this context can be personal, emotional context, where your choice of words is different, your usages are different, your flow, delivery, style, everything is different. For example, if you are hungry while at home, you shout. You shout at your loved ones. It may be your mother, it may be your spouse, it may be your sibling, anything. But when you are feeling hungry while at office or university or the organization you're working, you cannot shout like this, because here your communication behavior is governed by another context, by another manner. So there can be, when you try to understand communication from the perspective of manner, it can be personal, emotional, it can be organizational, professional. I just mentioned the example that when we are talking at office, at university, in much formalized occasions or contexts, our communication pattern changes. Our choice of words, syntax, delivery, style, speech, everything is affected because it is a different manner. We were governed by a different manner. Similarly, there can be another manner that is cultural. When we are into various cultural and social um, exercises, where we are into cultural and social occasions, our communication is also affected by the norms, by the manners of those contexts. Similarly, there can be another context in this regard that is silent and symbolic. Sometimes silence also communicates. If you are angry with a colleague or a friend or a loved one in family and you stop talking to them, don't think that you are not communicating. There also you are communicating. It communicates, and this communication is even louder, even more powerful than words when you are silent. That is why it is said that the best communications occur when we stop communicating. That means it communicates that you are angry. All is not well. There is something wrong in a relationship or whatever. So there is no context absolutely where you cannot not communicate, as proposed by Václavic, we discussed at the outset. So you have to communicate. If you think that you are living and you are not going to communicate, it is never going to happen. You have to communicate. Since you need to communicate, we need to communicate at any cost. Let's make our communication more meaningful and more powerful so that we can achieve all our goals. So this is all about effective communication. When we talk about effective communication, it is basically communication with an effective meaning and understanding. Because when we are communicating to someone. In an organization, for example, now most of us are from this organization, and our organization is Swami Vivekananda Location Center. And here we are communicating in different contexts. In a Pathachakra we communicate, in a workshop we communicate, in various activities we communicate, in our body meetings we communicate. So if our communication can be more meaningful, can be more effective, then we can better achieve our organizational goals. So effective communication is instrumental to the effective growth of an organization, both at the individual and collective level. So effective communication is the key. And creativity is a part of effective communication. When there are challenges, when there are barriers, when there are constraints, human constraints, creativity helps us to surpass that, to overcome that, and get our message across with the proper meaning, with the desired meaning. That is why we define communication as a process of sharing, but only sharing cannot be an effective communication unless and until it is meaningful. And when we are saying meaningful, how communication can be meaningful? Because you have words, you have languages that carry meaning as such. Then what is this concept of meaningful communication? The concept of meaningful communication comes from the fact that the real meaning of the message lies with the receiver. Effective communication or meaningful communication is always receiver-centric. It is more or less based on the receiver's understanding, how your receiver understands your message, understands your communication. That's why it is said that communication is not all about the sender's meaning, how qualified the sender is, how gorgeous he looks or she looks, or how scintillating his presentation is. But unless and until your receiver understands your message, the entire process, entire exercise is futile. Can't help you. So when you talk about effective communication, when you talk about meaningful communication, the real meaning of the message lies with the receiver. We need to understand this. Your receiver, the person you are communicating to, needs to understand your message as intended. There is a very thin gap between understanding and misunderstanding. Let me tell you. When we try to communicate from the perspective of understanding, there is a theory of understanding, whole theory of understanding. I have also worked to an extent on this theory. And there are also various traditions, various schools of thought centered on the concept of understanding in communication, which is the primary concept. Because if your communication, if your message, if your content is not understood, take it that it is not communicated. It is as good as that. Not understood is as good as not communicated. No matter how qualified I am, how many degrees I may be having, how well I look, how attractive my physique is, my personality is, if I am not understood in the proper light, I fail to communicate. So, communication is not just sharing. Is there any problem? Okay, I think everything is fine. Okay. So, it is not just that sharing only. Rather, it is sharing something meaningfully and achieving mutual understanding based on an effective contextual commonness. Mark these expressions. Here lies the creativity, and here lies the effective communication, the core of effective communication. Communication is a process of sharing something meaningfully. When you talk about meaningfully, it means that your receiver understands your message, what you want to communicate primarily. That should be understood by your receiver. So receiving, communicating something, sharing something meaningfully, and achieving mutual understanding. You should know your receiver, and your receiver should know you. That means the goal of your communication should be known to both the sender and the receiver, you and the person you are communicating to. And the more they know the goal of your communication, the less misunderstanding, the less chances of misunderstanding will be. And always remember, there is no harm if someone doesn't understand your message. But there is harm if someone misunderstands your message. And when you reflect on the whole of the audience psychology, from the perspective of understanding, you have three categories of audiences. Category one, they can understand. Category two, they can't understand. Category three, they do not want to understand. So I said three categories, it is four categories actually. Category one, they can understand. Category two, they can't understand. Category three, they misunderstand. Category four, they do not want to understand. You have these four categories of people everywhere in your circle, in your context. Category one, they can understand. Category two, they can't understand. Category three, they misunderstand. Category four, they do not want to understand. So it is because everyone's psychological disposition is unique. Everyone's psychological mechanism is unique. There is a triple P theory in psychology. We should know this. Perception, personality, and performance. Our perception affects our personality, and our personality affects our performance. And this is very true in communication psychology, in social psychology. And everyone's personality, perception, and performance are unique. There is a natural uniqueness theory working everywhere. Everyone's perception is unique, personality is unique, and performance is unique. So never think that whatever you say in whatever context is received by everyone as intended. No, if you think, you are a fool. And here lies the need of meaningful communication. What you can do so that you can be understood in the right manner, the right way. Try to know your audience. Try to understand their psychological background, their moral background. Try to know your audience. Because there can be no universal formula for communication. Since everyone is unique, all communicators are unique. What you can do is know your audience. Try to know your audience. And the knowledge of the audience is very much instrumental to an effective communication. The more you know your audience, the better you can communicate. The better you can design your communication. And there are so many ways to know your audience. You can study, you can communicate, you can learn, and you can come out with different creative ways to know your audience. And it is not easy to know someone. But at least in your context, as far as your goal is concerned, you should be having that level of empathy. You should be having that level of sensitivity, at least to address the needs and concerns of your audience. And the more you know them, the better you can design your communication. That's why it is often said that effective communication results more from knowing your audience and communicating accordingly. And an effective communicator knows his message and audience well. Because the response of the audience is primarily dependent on their understanding. And how they respond is primarily caused by how they understand your message. So receiver's understanding is key. You cannot do anything about it. So first try to know your audience. So there is a formula. When we talk about effective communication and talk about creative communication, it refers to three different dimensions. First, communicating with effective purpose, communicating with selective knowledge, communicating with connective personality. Right? Communicating with effective purpose. First, you need to understand what you are going to do, what you are going to achieve with this communication, with this message, with this content. First, you need to be convinced about your intention, about your goal, your preparedness, your awareness, your presence as a communicator. Then communicating with selective knowledge, because every communication has a specific goal. So you need to understand what it takes to communicate more effectively, more meaningfully in this context. So try to focus on specific knowledge. Since communication can never be universal, you are communicating to someone who is not familiar with your ways of communication, with the symbols you are using, with the medium you are using, with the style, with the approach you are using, then there is no point in communicating because your message is not going to be understood. Similarly, you need to work on your behavioral skills also. You need to work on your ego. You need to work on your patience. You need to work on the various traits of yourself as a communicator. Because everyone won't tolerate you, because you are into a different context every time. Your family members may tolerate you, but when you are speaking in a public meeting, there may be different people with different dispositions. So you need to readjust yourself, you need to correct yourself, you need to change yourself as a communicator. So the primary goal, the primary objective, the primary purpose is to be understood as a communicator. To create meaning that can be understood. Something will become meaningful only when it is understood. For an example, we all have this trait of speaking from our levels, what we know, what we think, where we are. From our perception, we speak. But we need to be aware of the audience, their conditions, their background, their nature. Because only when they understand us, our communication becomes effective, our communication becomes successful, our communication becomes meaningful. We become successful to achieve something only when our communication is understood. So we need to take care of a host of things. It may be patience of the audience, level of knowledge, literacy, their orientation. So whenever we are working on a particular content, it can be speech, it can be banner, it can be a poster, or it can be anything for that matter. Our knowledge of the audience should be reflected and should be manifested in that. Otherwise, we can't be able to influence our audience, or we can't be able to get our message across as intended. For example, you keep on speaking without taking care of the time, without taking care of the patience, without taking care of the level of exposure, level of knowledge of your audience. And they're very much scared of you. We, being academics, we have this very practical experience that sometimes we also search for corners so that people don't notice us if we become sleepy during a speech. And how it happens? It happens because of the gap between the receiver and the sender. The gap, the knowledge gap. The receiver, the sender doesn't try to know the receiver, know their orientation, their requirement, their needs. And the receiver is nowhere to catch the signals because they feel disconnected. Communication is all about connection. If there will be disconnection, this is the communication failure. So communication should connect. That's why connective personality is there. The communicator needs to reflect on themselves. What they need to connect to people, connect to more people. In every organization, especially in an organization like ours, what are the major goals? The major goals are reflection, communication, connection, and transformation. We need to reflect on our activities. We need to reflect on our goals. We need to reflect on our principles. We need to reflect on our ideas. Then we need to take them to more and more people to make them connected, to connect to them. So we can do this by communication that we are doing right now. We communicate through webinars, we communicate through activities, we communicate through meetings, posters, social media, new media, YouTube channels. All these media, all these fora are for communication only. So reflection leading to communication, or communication leading to connection. The better we can communicate, the better we can connect. And connection, once the connection is established, once we are successful to connect to people, then the transformation takes place. So communication has to be receiver-centric. We need to understand the psychology of the receiver. We need to know our receiver. We need to know our goal. And we need to understand what it takes to be there. So effective purpose, selective knowledge, and connective personality. There is a very familiar saying in communication psychology that some people create happiness wherever they go, and some people create happiness whenever they go. It signifies two standards of communication, two categories of communicators. And the choice is yours. Which category you want to belong to. So some people create happiness wherever they go, because they have this connect, this empathy, the passion to know the audience and design the communication accordingly. So when you talk about creative approach in communication, it is all about learning, thinking, and expressing. We need to learn. Life is a process of learning. It's like communication is a never-ending process. So the more we learn, the more we will think. All mental activities occur at this stage. The stirring takes place. The churning takes place. New ideas emerge. So learning leads to thinking, and thinking leads to expression. Expression is the final communication, and human expression is always made up of the learning and thinking inputs. So we need to learn to communicate, think to communicate, and express to communicate. And when you have all three, that is L plus T plus E, learning plus thinking plus expressing, then we get CE, that is communication effectiveness. So the more we think, the more we learn, the more we think. And the more we think, the more we express. So this is the creative attitude, creative behavior. And the more we reflect on our things, on our goals, on our processes, on our tasks, the more creative can we become. The more we use the mind can become more creative. Use it or lose it. So effective purpose, selective knowledge, and connective personality. There was a very popular professor in our field, Professor McLuhan, who has developed so many theories in communication. One day he came to his university and went to park his car. But there he saw that some student has parked his car in his place. So he got angry, infuriated, and just left a note on his car and went. That student came and read, and when Professor McLuhan in the evening came to his car, he found another note at the windshield of his car. And the note read, "Dear Professor McLuhan, nice to get your message. And I'm so happy that this is the only message that I have been able to understand so far." So see how a communication professor communicates. So communication is all about understanding. Communication is all about the behavioral values. Communication is all about the creativity skills, and it all is centered on understanding the receiver's understanding. So always try to remember that effective communication or meaningful communication aims at the receiver's understanding. It is always receiver centric, and the encoding of the sender is to be done in accordance with the decoding capacity of the receiver. If your receiver cannot understand something, don't design your communication the way you are planning. Always try to design your communication from the perspective of the receiver, then only your communication will be understood, well received, and your purpose will be achieved, and you can fulfill yourself as an effective communicator. So I think if you have any questions, we can go for it. I think I have consumed my time.
Thank you so much, Devilal, for this wonderful lecture. In fact, personally, I learned so many things from your uh, address. It was truly a illuminating lecture by all accounts. We have a number of questions, but we have only 12 minutes to wrap up the whole session. So I'll take few of them. Priyadarshikar has a number of questions. So I'll take just one or two of them. There are 2-3 questions I'm taking in a bunch. Kabiraj Bhoi, what are the various challenges to good communication? Chandrasekharji has asked, sometimes some words or sentences used by the communicator have different reflections in the mind of audience, as happened in case of Swami Vivekananda in Dharma Sansad. What may be the reasons? And there is a question by Priyadarshi Bhai, that is there a relationship between passion and creativity? Do you think passionate people are relatively more creative? Looking through the lives of Gandhi, Tolstoy, Freud, and Foucault, etc. There is a question by Madhusudan Pradhan. How can we make your communication inclusive so that it can satisfy the need of a heterogeneous group? And there is a question by Joydev Satpathy. What is distorted and undistorted communication? How it is relevant in the present day context? And the last, I'll take another question of Priyadarshi Bhai. Is communication context dependent? Is it more a cultural construct than otherwise? It is 7:50, Devilal. I think you just try to answer within 5 minutes as briefly as possible to all these questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And all the questions are very good questions. And yeah, it requires my communication skills to answer those questions within the time you allotted. Anyway, I will first go to Priyadarshi Bhai. And his question, yeah, is of course very practical one. Yes, passion is a very active ingredient of creativity. For example, if you love your work, if you love what you do, then you will think about it, you will reflect on it. And this is a psychological process. You will learn about it, you will think about it, and it all will lead to related expressions. So this is a very psychological demeanor, we may call it, psychological communication behavior. Yes, passion should be there. And all the great artists, all the great people who have excelled in their fields, they have more or less worked on this formula that one can do great work. If you want to do great work, you need to love the work you do. Or for example, if you can't love it, you can't leave it, and if you can't leave it, you can't achieve it. So passion is an essential ingredient, I must say. Yes, and there is another question: the challenges to communication. There are various challenges. There can be psychological challenges. There can be our own disposition, our own nature can be a challenge, right? There can be various sociological challenges, the patterns, the structure of our society. They also sometimes act as barriers, as challenges. There can be semantic challenges arising out of our language, use, presentation, all these things. And there can be actual challenges or physical challenges. For example, now we are talking over a medium, and if some disturbances occur, for example, sound, light, or some technical issue, so this is also a challenge, technological challenge or actual challenge we may call. There can be physiological challenges. For example, yeah, while talking, if you feel some pain in your head, if you get a headache or cold or sneeze or cough, you can talk. So that is physiological challenge. And psychological challenge I just elaborated. So challenges, there can be so many challenges. The list of challenges is endless, in fact. And there is another question. Yes, communication and culture. Yes, communication is affected by culture. In fact, when we talk about content, content is a cultural process. Sometimes in the mainstream media these days, we call content as a cultural product, and media as a cultural industry. So culture is always there, and culture affects us, and the symbols of expressions are mostly cultural. They have cultural significance. And there is another question, Netaji Bhai, if you can remind the relationship between some question I'm leaving, I guess.
Uh, Challenges to good communication, then uh, and is there a relationship between passion and creativity, which you have answered? And how can you make our communication inclusive so that it can satisfy the need of a heterogeneous group?
This is a very good question. Yes, communication can be inclusive. First of all, the intention of communicator is very important. Second, the knowledge of the audience. First, you need to know your audience, their psychological dispositions, their sociological character, what they need, their need. And when you know your audience and design your communication accordingly, you can have an inclusive impact. You can include your audience in the communication. And for example, there is, more importantly, there is one factor that is known as consideration. In communication, in effective communication, consideration is a very important factor. That means you need to be considerate towards your audience. You need to be considerate towards their needs, their goals, and you need to integrate your communication accordingly. there is an SRC theory of communication, that is known as SRC theory of development action. That means S stands for sensitivity, R stands for receptivity, and C stands for connectivity. That means first, you as a communicator needs to be sensitive to the needs of the people you are communicating to, and then try to open them, try to let them come with feedbacks, let them come with responses, and then you try to be receptive towards their needs, their responses. So when you become sensitive and receptive as a communicator, there takes place a climate for connectivity. You can better connect only when you have a sensitive and receptive heart inside. Just imagine the communication done by Mahatma Gandhi, communication done by our freedom fighters, how they were able to connect to so many people under adverse circumstances, how a massive opinion could be generated. It is all because of the sensitivity, receptivity, and connectivity of the communication. So the more sensitive you are, the more trust you can generate. And always remember, this trust factor acts as a major element in inclusive communication while you try to include people. Because if you cannot trust someone, you cannot accept them. So trust is a central to acceptance, and acceptance is central to relationship. And here lies the fundamental role of communication. You need to communicate trust. Only when you communicate trust and generate trust thereby, then only you will be trusted and you will be accepted, and a relationship will be formed, leading you to achieve your goals. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for sticking to the time. Now we are at the end of this discussion. It was a very wonderful discussion, I must say that. Now I request the Vice Chairman Vichardhara Swami Vivekananda Lok Sanchad, who is a retired principal and very well-known columnist, Dr. Chayakant Sarangi, to make his concluding remarks and offer a formal vote of thanks to two of our eminent guests. Dr. Sarangi.
सभापति इंजीनियर श्रीयुक्त सोमनाथ मिश्र महोदय, संयोजक डॉक्टर प्रोफेसर नेताजी अभिनंदन महोदय एवं विषय विशेषज्ञ डॉक्टर देवीलाल मिश्र महोदय, मु जदियो जने इंग्राजी विभाग रे प्रोफेसर, मु मोर वृत्तिर भाषा रे धन्यवाद न देई मोर मातृभाषा रे धन्यवाद देवा चाहूँगी। आज ये वेबिनार रे विशिष्ट विषय विशेषज्ञ श्रीयुक्त देवीलाल मिश्रंकर वक्तव्य मु जहाँ बुझिली अति संक्षिप्त रे मु कहवा चाहे, वक्ता जेतेबेले श्रोता पाखरे पहुंची पारे नाही सेतेबेले तार समस्त वक्तव्य अर्थहीन हो जाए। आमे अनेक समय रे श्रोतार मानसिक स्तर को न विचारी निजर पांडित्य देखा चेष्टा करूं वक्तव्य उपस्थापन कला बेले, यही क्षेत्र में वक्तव्य प्रभावहीन एवं अर्थहीन प्रमाणित हो। आज श्रीयुक्त डॉक्टर देवीलाल मिश्र तांको वक्तव्य रे स्पष्ट करी निजर सृजनशीलता को किपरि भाव रे प्रकाश करी हबो, की प्रकार शैली रे प्रकाश करिवो, ए संपर्क रे विशद भाव रे पुंखानुपुंख भाव रे आलोचना करिसंती। मु आशा करिवि विचारधारा रे आमे जो कार्यक्रम गुडी को आयोजन करूछु एवं जो माने विचारधारा रे वक्तव्य परिवेषण करूचंती से माने डॉक्टर देवीलाल मिश्रंकर वक्तव्य को ध्यान देवे एवं अति सुंदर भाव रे से जो यही विषय वस्तुर उपस्थापना कले से मु स्वामी विवेकानंद लोक संसद विचारधारा तरफ तांको धन्यवाद एवं कृतज्ञता ज्ञापन करुछि। वेबिनार को अति सुंदर भाव रे संयोजना करिथिबा विशिष्ट अध्यापक प्रोफेसर नेताजी अभिनंदन, जे कि निजे जने विशिष्ट स्तंभकार, तांको मध्य मु धन्यवाद अर्पण करुछि एवं एई भली वेबिनार रो आयोजन करिथिबा सभापति इंजीनियर सोमनाथ मिश्र को अशेष धन्यवाद एवं कृतज्ञता जनाऊँगी एवं आज आम सहित जो माने जोड़ी होती समस्त बंधु मान को मु धन्यवाद अर्पण करुछि आउ थरे समस्त को धन्यवाद
धन्यवाद डॉक्टर छायाकांत षडंगी एते सुंदर ढंगर धन्यवाद देथिबारु आपन को धन्यवाद वर्तमान मु अनुरोध करी डॉक्टर प्रियव्रत को जे इकोनॉमिक्स रे असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर अछंती एवं स्वामी विवेकानंद लोक संसद रो संपादक मध्य सी शांति पाठ करिवे एवं ता सहित हम आज आजिकार सभा कार्य शेष करिवे प्रियव्रत
धन्यवाद सर नमस्कार समस्त को शांति पाठ करुच्ची सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्तिः 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 धन्यवाद
वर्तमान मु सभापति को अनुरोध करी से आनुष्ठानिक भाव में सभार समाप्ति घोषणा करेंगे सभा सांग लचित भाई